The viewing chamber of Galactic Council Station Zenith Prime held representatives from 43 civilizations. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood alone at the human podium, her dark suit crisp and professional. She did not fidget. She did not show fear. Her hands rested calmly on the surface before her. Across from her, High Chancellor Vex Thor of the Krillian Empire rose to his full 3-meter height. His crimson scales glittered under the station's artificial lights. 4 other species leaders stood beside him, their alliance clear. The human expansion ends today, Vex Thor announced, his voice booming through the chamber. Your species will evacuate 47 colony worlds within 1 standard galactic month. These territories violate established protocols. You are children playing with fire. Chin listened without expression. Around the circular chamber, other species watched with mild interest. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 83 years ago. They were infants by galactic standards. Most species in the chamber had been exploring space for thousands of years. And if we refuse? Chin asked quietly. Vex Thor's mouth opened in what his species used as a smile. Then we will pacify those worlds. Your colonists will be removed. Your ships will be disabled. This is not negotiation, human. This is notification. A ripple of agreement moved through the Krillian delegation. The other species in the chamber remained neutral, but few seemed concerned. Humanity was small. Weak. Lucky to have stumbled onto FTL technology at all. I see, Chin said. She picked up her datapad and made a note. The 47 worlds you've listed house approximately 890 million human civilians. Men, women, children, elderly. You're asking us to uproot nearly 1 billion people. That is your concern, not ours, Vex Thor replied. Perhaps you should have considered this before expanding so aggressively. Your species has claimed more territory in 80 years than most civilizations claim in 1,000. You ignore the proper channels. You do not wait for approval. You simply take. We colonized uninhabited worlds, Chin pointed out. Worlds within zones designated for future expansion by established powers, another delegate interjected. There are rules, human. Your ignorance of them is not an excuse. Chin nodded slowly. She tapped her datapad again. I will need to consult with my government. This is not a decision I can make alone. You have 72 hours, Vex Thor declared. Return with confirmation of your evacuation plans, or face the consequences. The council mediator, an ancient creature named Almketh, stirred from his observing position. His species had maintained peace in the galaxy for millennia. Perhaps a compromise could be reached. Some colonies could remain while others. No, Vex Thor cut him off. Humanity must learn its place. They arrive in our galaxy with their noise and their emotions and their demands. They need to understand how things work. Chen's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Her grip on the datapad increased slightly. Only a few observers noticed these tiny changes. Very well, she said evenly. 72 hours. I will return with Earth's response. As she turned to leave, Vex Thor called out one more time. Ambassador Chin. Do not mistake our patience for weakness. Your species is fragile. Your empire is small. Your technology is primitive. Accept these terms and survive. Resist and discover what happens when children challenge adults. Chin paused at the exit. She looked back over her shoulder. High Chancellor, I have a question. Speak. In your 4,000 years of spacefaring civilization, how many wars has your species fought? Vex Thor seemed puzzled by the question. 17 major conflicts. Hundreds of minor disputes. All resolved through proper channels and acceptable casualties. Why does this matter? Just curious, Chin replied. Her face remained neutral, but something in her eyes shifted. I'll see you in 72 hours. She walked out, leaving the chamber in confident silence. The emergency session convened in Geneva within 6 hours of Ambassador Chen's return to Earth. President Elena Volkov sat at the head of a table surrounded by military leaders, colonial representatives, and strategic advisors. The room was silent except for the hum of holographic displays showing all 47 contested colonies. Fleet Admiral Marcus Rivera spoke first. We can evacuate maybe 10% of the population in a month. The rest would be stranded. The Krillians know this. They're not offering us a choice. They're offering us surrender. What are our military options? Volkov asked. Against the Krillian Empire alone? We'd lose badly. Against their alliance? We'd be destroyed within weeks. Rivera pulled up fleet comparisons. They have better shields, faster engines, stronger weapons. We're outmatched in every category. A colonial governor from New Terra spoke up, her voice shaking. My world has 60 million people. Families, children in schools, farms that people built with their own hands. We can't just abandon everything. Dr. James Wu from Strategic Planning cleared his throat. Perhaps we should consider why we expanded so quickly in the first place. Volkov nodded grimly. Show them. Wu activated a display showing Earth from 85 years ago. The planet was brown and gray in places where it should have been green and blue. When we discovered FTL technology, Earth was dying. Climate collapse, resource depletion, overcrowding. We had maybe 50 years left before widespread civilization collapse. Those colonies weren't about expansion. They were about survival. The Krillians don't care about our reasons, another admiral pointed out. No, Wu agreed. But they should understand what those colonies mean to us. They're not outposts or investments. They're our lifeboats. If we lose them, we lose our future. Volkov leaned back in her chair. So our options are surrender or suicide. Is that what you're telling me? There's a third option, Wu said quietly. He transmitted a file to everyone's screen. Protocol Rubicon. We developed it 20 years ago and hoped we'd never need it. The room fell silent as people read. One general went pale. Another closed his eyes and shook his head. You can't be serious, someone whispered. It's the only leverage we have, Wu insisted. They think we're weak because we're young. They think we'll fold because they're stronger. They don't understand what humans do when there's no way out. Rivera studied the plan carefully. This would work. God help us, this would actually work. But the cost would be everything, Volkov finished. If we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy would fear us forever. They already don't respect us, Wu said. Maybe fear is better. A representative from the colony world of Haven stood. I have 3 grandchildren on my world. If the Krillians come, what happens to them? Do they become refugees? Do they die when the pacification goes wrong? At least this way we're fighting for their future. Around the table, heads began to nod. The logic was brutal but clear. Volkov looked at each person in turn. This is not a decision I can make alone. We vote. Protocol Rubicon, accept or reject. One by one, hands rose. Military leaders. Colonial governors. Scientific advisors. Every single hand went up. Unanimous, Volkov said softly. She looked older, suddenly tired. May history forgive us. She turned to the communications officer. Prepare a message for Ambassador Chin. She'll deliver it in 71 hours and 59 minutes. Not a second earlier. Wu prepared the data package. It contained humanity's response, detailed plans, and something the galaxy had never seen before. Earth's complete military history. Every war. Every battle. Every terrible lesson humans had learned over 8,000 years of killing each other. They wanted to see what humans do when cornered, Rivera said quietly. Now they'll find out. Volkov sealed the file with her authorization code. Send it to Chin. And pray the Krillians are smart enough to back down. The file transmitted across space. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn what humanity really was. Ambassador Chin walked into the council chamber exactly 71 hours and 59 minutes after the ultimatum. She carried only a small data chip. Her face showed no emotion. Behind her, Captain Wei Zhang stood at attention, his hand near his sidearm out of protocol, not fear. The chamber was fuller than before. Word had spread that humanity would give its answer today. Many species came to watch what they assumed would be a capitulation. Some seemed sympathetic. Most seemed indifferent. High Chancellor Vex Thor lounged in his seat, radiating confidence. Ambassador Chin. Have you come to discuss evacuation schedules? No, Chin replied simply. She inserted the data chip into the central display system. I've come to deliver Earth's response. The lights dimmed. President Volkov's face appeared on the holographic screen. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were cold as steel. To the Krillian Empire and the Galactic Council, Volkov's recorded message began. We have reviewed your ultimatum regarding our 47 colony worlds. After careful consideration, our answer is simple. We decline. The colonies remain ours. This is not negotiable. Shocked murmurs rippled through the chamber. Vex Thor sat up straight, his scales darkening with anger. Furthermore, Volkov continued, we present our own terms. The Krillian Empire has 96 hours to withdraw all military vessels from our territorial space and issue a formal written apology for this threat. Failure to comply will result in consequences. Vex Thor exploded from his seat. This is absurd. You have 80 years of space flight. We have 4,000. You cannot possibly threaten us. Your technology is inferior. Your fleet is tiny. You cannot. Chen's voice cut through his rage like a knife. You assume age equals wisdom, High Chancellor. It doesn't. She activated the next part of the presentation. You asked what humanity will do if you attack. We're going to tell you. Exactly. The display showed a star map of Krillian space. Then it showed human fleet positions. Then something that made several delegates gasp. Detailed analysis of every Krillian military engagement for the past 1,000 years. We've studied you, Shin explained. We've studied everyone. For 83 years we've watched how the galaxy fights wars. You have rules. Acceptable casualty rates. Economic targets instead of civilian ones. Negotiated surrenders. You call it civilized warfare. Another display appeared showing human history. Battles. Wars. Millions dead. Humans don't fight like that, Chin said quietly. We've been at war with each other for 8,000 years. We've killed over 100 million of our own species in single conflicts. We have 47,000 different words for war across our languages. We've destroyed entire cities. Burned continents. We've created weapons specifically designed to kill as many people as possible. The chamber was silent now. Even Vexthor had stopped talking. We're not proud of this, Chin continued. We hoped we'd left that savagery behind when we reached the stars. But you need to understand what you're threatening. Those colonies hold our families, our children, our future. If you destroy them, you won't be fighting humanity at its best. You'll be fighting humanity with nothing left to lose. She activated the final simulation. Human artificial intelligence running war scenarios against Krillian fleet tactics. The results played out in fast motion. Again and again human forces lost ships and lives but kept fighting. No retreats. No surrenders. Just relentless, brutal continuation until one side was completely destroyed. Win rate, 67%, Chin stated. Despite your superior technology. Because you fight to win. We fight to eliminate the threat permanently. She looked directly at Vexthor. You have civilized warfare. That's beautiful. We respect that. But if you attack our colonies, we won't fight you until you surrender. We will fight you until your species is extinct. Every ship. Every station. Every world. We will not stop. We cannot stop. That's what happens when you corner humans and take away everything they love. Chin removed the data chip. 96 hours, High Chancellor. Choose wisely. She walked out, leaving the chamber in terrified silence. High Chancellor Vexthor sat in his private war room aboard his flagship. Around him, military advisors studied the data humanity had provided. The confidence from 3 days ago had evaporated. Now there was only uncomfortable silence. Replay Scenario 47, Vexthor ordered. The holographic display showed another simulation. Krillian forces engaged a human fleet near a colony world. The Krillians had better shields and weapons. They destroyed 3 human ships quickly. Then the human behavior changed in a way that made no tactical sense. The remaining human vessels stopped retreating. Instead, they accelerated directly toward the Krillian formation. 2 ships were destroyed. The third rammed a Krillian cruiser at full speed. Both vessels exploded. Suicide tactics, an advisor whispered. They sacrificed themselves rather than lose. Run Scenario 62, another advisor suggested. This simulation showed a longer conflict. Krillian forces won the initial battle and occupied a human colony. Within weeks, the human population began resistance operations. Not organized military resistance but civilians building bombs. Attacking supply lines. Destroying their own infrastructure to deny it to the occupiers. They fight even when they cannot win, the first advisor said. Look at this data from their history. Wars that lasted decades. Resistance movements that continued for generations. They teach their children to keep fighting. Vexthor studied a particular section of human history. What is this? World War II. A global conflict on their homeworld. Duration, 6 years. Deaths, over 70 million. They used weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. Towards the end, civilians fought with kitchen knives rather than surrender. Madness, Vexthor breathed. Perhaps, the advisor agreed. But effective madness. Chancellor, we practice warfare with acceptable losses. We fight until the economic cost exceeds the benefit. Then we negotiate. Humans don't have acceptable losses. They have total commitment. Fleet Commander Zaxel entered the war room. His expression was grim. I've finished my analysis. If we attack their colonies, we'll win the initial engagement. Our technology is superior. But then what? We occupy, Vexthor said, but his voice lacked conviction. For how long? Zaxol challenged. The remaining humans will retreat. They'll rebuild. And they'll come back. Not next month or next year. But eventually. And they won't attack our military. They'll attack our civilians. Our colonies. Our trade routes. They'll fight a war of extermination because we started one. He pulled up more human history. Look at what they did to each other over ideology and territory. Now imagine that hatred focused entirely on us. We can't occupy 900 million hostile humans. We can't guard every colony world forever. And if we try to eliminate them completely, we become the monsters, Vexthor finished quietly. Across the galaxy, the council mediator Almketh sat in his ancient chambers. He had lived for 600 years and seen countless conflicts. But humanity's presentation disturbed him deeply. He opened secure communications to several council members. We made a mistake. We treated them like children because they're young. But they're not children. They're survivors who clawed their way to the stars from a dying world. Every colony they have represents a fight against extinction. What do we do? A council member asked. We don't let the Krillians attack, Almketh said firmly. If this war starts, it won't end until one species is destroyed. Maybe both. I've seen this before 40,000 years ago. Another species that fought like humans. That war consumed half the galaxy before it ended. I will not watch it happen again. Back in the Krillian war room, Vexthor's advisors waited for his decision. The simulations kept running. Every scenario that started with attacking human colonies ended the same way, mutual destruction or Krillian extinction. They're bluffing, Vexthor said, but he didn't sound sure. Are they? Zaxol asked. Can we afford to find out? Vexthor looked at the timer. 51 hours remained. He thought about his own children, his colonies, his people. The humans had already lost everything once. They had nothing left to lose. But he did. 6 months had passed since the ultimatum. Ambassador Sarah Chin, now promoted to Secretary General of Human Galactic Affairs, stood in her new office overlooking Earth. The blue planet had never looked more beautiful. Or more peaceful. Her communication console chimed. It was a message from the Galactic Council. Another species requesting human military advisors. The 5th request this month. Chin smiled slightly. The galaxy had changed in unexpected ways. High Chancellor Vexthor had withdrawn his fleet within 48 hours of humanity's deadline. The formal apology arrived 24 hours after that. No shots were fired. No colonies were evacuated. But the galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Council mediator Almketh entered, moving slowly on his ancient legs. Chin stood and bowed respectfully. The old mediator had become an unexpected friend over the past months. Secretary General Chin, Almketh greeted her. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Never, mediator. Please sit. They settled into comfortable chairs. Almketh looked tired, older somehow despite his 600 years. I wanted to tell you something, the mediator began. A secret I've kept for a very long time. Chin listened quietly. 40,000 years ago, my species encountered another race like yours. Young, aggressive, emotional. They had just achieved faster-than-light travel. We tried to guide them, to teach them our peaceful ways. He paused, his eyes distant with memory. They didn't want peace. They wanted expansion. Territory. Resources. When we tried to stop them, they fought back with a fury we'd never seen. What happened? Chin asked softly. War. Total war. The kind you described in your presentation. It lasted 3,000 years. Entire star systems were destroyed. Billions died. In the end, both species were extinct. The aggressors destroyed themselves and they took their enemies with them. We barely survived by staying neutral. Almketh looked directly at Chin. When humans arrived in our galaxy, some of us were terrified. We saw the same fire in your eyes. The same aggression. The same potential for destruction. That's why I pushed the council to test you. To see what you would do when threatened. And? Chin prompted. You terrified us, Almketh admitted. But not in the way I expected. You showed restraint. You warned us clearly what would happen. You gave us a choice. The ancient species I mentioned never did that. They simply attacked. He leaned forward. Please, Secretary General. Prove us wrong. Be better than they were. Show the galaxy that young, fierce species can also be wise. Chin considered his words carefully. We're trying mediator. The new treaty helps. The protocols of reasonable warfare give us guidelines. We've agreed to follow galactic standards for conflict resolution. In exchange for recognition of your colonies and a permanent council seat, Almketh noted. A fair trade. But I wonder if you truly understand what you've become. What do you mean? You're no longer the newcomers. You're the ones everyone fears. And fears can seek protection from. He gestured to her console. Those requests for military advisors. The trade agreements. The defensive pacts. Species are aligning with humanity because they're afraid of what happens if they don't. There's an ancient threat stirring on the galactic rim, Chin said. They need our help. They need your willingness to fight without limits, Almketh corrected gently. They need your terrible mathematics. They need soldiers who don't calculate acceptable losses. Chin walked to the window looking out at Earth. We don't want to be the scary ones, mediator. We wanted to join the galactic community as equals. As friends. You are friends, Almketh assured her. But you're also the guard dogs. The protectors. The last line of defense when civilized warfare fails. He stood slowly. It's a heavy burden. I'm sorry my people contributed to placing it on you. We'll manage, Chin said. We always do. After Almketh left, Chin looked at the star charts on her wall. Human colony ships were still expanding, but now with full galactic recognition. New worlds. New possibilities. Her people had survived extinction, threatened war, and emerged stronger. She thought about Vexthor's question from 6 months ago. How many wars had the Krillians fought? 17 major conflicts in 4,000 years. Humanity had fought 17 major wars in the last 200 years alone. Peace through strength, Chin whispered to the stars. Just like back home. Her console chimed again. Another species requesting an alliance. Another civilization seeking humanity's protection. Chin accepted the call. The long peace had begun, built on the foundation of what humanity could do if that peace ever broke. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Don't corner humans. Don't threaten what they love. Because they'll show you mathematics the civilized universe had forgotten, the terrible math of species that fight not to win but to survive. And survival, humanity had proven, was something they were very good at.